My name is Lucie Zakova. I know it's difficult to pronounce. It's a Czech name. And I am alumni of Bremen Hochschule. I graduated in 2001. And before that, I studied in the Czech Republic at the University of Olomouc, Political Science and European Studies. That was a 5-year course with master graduation. And I also studied for 1 semester in the United Kingdom. It was an Erasmus exchange program focused on European studies. So that's my educational background, in which I finished in 10 years ago, in fact, already.
Great.
Yeah, I've forgotten to say my current job. I work in the European Commission in the Director General Regional Policy since 8 years now. And how I got that job, as all people who are here permanently employed, you have to pass a competition. So I passed the competition in 2004, and that's how I got into the European Commission. I'm currently working as an assistant to Deputy Director General. In fact, I'm quite fresh in the job, since something over 1 month. And my main task is basically to coordinate the work of the 3 directorates for which my Deputy Director General is responsible. So I'm making sure that people know what to do within what deadline. I'm also checking the quality of the documents they are producing. I'm helping my boss with the agenda. I'm accompanying him to different meetings. So these are basically my main tasks. But before, I worked in this Directorate General already for 7 years in 3 different units, in fact. I work in the geographical unit responsible for the Czech Republic, which was my last job before the current one, and where I was doing completely different thing. I was responsible for programs which we support from the structural funds in the Czech Republic. And before that, I worked in a horizontal unit called coordination, which was a bit similar task I do now, but more on, let's say, micro level. It was not that high level type of coordination as I do now. I think currently the biggest challenge is the time. The day is very long, and you would not believe how fast it goes. So I am constantly fighting against the time. This is my impression since last month, that to really try to manage as many tasks as possible within really 1 day. So very often you need to balance between different priorities and urgencies. So that's, I think, the main challenge. And of course, in the job where I'm now, very often you are faced with, let's say, difficult situations which you need to solve in, let's say, diplomatic way, because there are also quite high expectations from colleagues on you, and that you are able to solve problems for them. That is also sometimes quite challenging.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
I like very much this type of horizontal coordination type of work. So in fact, I think this current job is perfect for me. I really enjoy having an overview of what's going on in different areas of our policy, and having this overview, and also meeting interesting people. For example, we have frequent meetings with our commissioner. So these kind of things which normally you would not be able to do if you are not working in a job I'm working now. So these are quite interesting. I think these are the things I like most on the job. You need to be flexible. I think in terms of, also I talked about the problem of time, of not having enough time. I think you need to be able to work until late in the evenings, because there may be some urgent meetings to take place within, in a short notice. So I think this is very important. What is also important is, let's say, problem-solving attitude. As I said, there are a lot of things coming up, and you need to be able also that my boss doesn't have time to follow everything, so he relies very much on me to solve problems. And you need to be able to react maybe quite quickly. So these kind of things you need to, I think, bring to the job as well. Then, as I mentioned, also certain diplomatic skills to be able, let's say, solve little conflicts or disagreements between different colleagues are also quite useful. And of course, the knowledge of the policy. Since I work in a horizontal type of our service, you need to know a bit about everything. You don't need to know everything in detail, but you need to have, let's say, an overview. Well, I think certainly it depends on what you want to do later on in your career. If your objective is to work for the European institutions, then certainly trying to get an internship either in the European Commission or in the European Parliament or the Council is probably the best way to test a bit the atmosphere, the working environment. But of course, I know there are a lot of opportunities here in Brussels, outside the European institutions. Different lobby organizations or interest groups offer internships as well, which can be also very useful, also for later career, for example, in the European institutions. If you want to go to private business, then certainly internship in a big private company is also worth trying. So it really very much depends on what you want to do later on in your professional career. I always say don't be afraid and be proactive. So try hard to apply for different jobs, even though you think you would never get that. Just try, because it's never lost time. Even if you are not getting the job, or maybe you will get at least an interview, which is a good test for you as well to exercise the situations of an interview. I think this is the most important, and believe in yourself. Don't be really afraid of people, or approaching people and talking to them, trying to make contact, and which can be maybe useful for later on. I think these are the most important things. Of course, educational background is also important, language skills are important. But I think nowadays everybody who is competing on this market has more or less the same level of education. You just need to show what the difference you make when you are applying for the same job. And I think very much depends on luck, of course. I remember every year the students from Bremen come here, and there are quite often people from non-European countries, and they are always asking this question. And with a certain, let's say, skepticism, given that they are not coming from EU country. But I think that it is not disadvantage at all, because first of all, European Union cooperates very much with non-European countries, no matter whether it's the United States or whether it's Africa or whether it's Asia. So there are opportunities certainly for non-European students to see. I know that, for example, for internship you can also apply if you are not coming from an EU member state. So certainly, at least for an internship, you have an opportunity to work at least for 6 months in the institutions. I also know that many non-EU member states offer a kind of secondment to the European institution. So, for example, if you work for a government organization in the United States, you could try to get a secondment to the European Union institutions. For example, we had here in my DG some years ago a colleague from Norway who was seconded from the National Ministry for 3 years. So there are opportunities also for non-EU people to work for the institutions.